concert pianist. Now, most of you may have noticed that I only have one hand, so it probably isn't the first choice of career you'd have thought I'd have done. I know it wasn't my parents' first choice for me either, and it's not every day your one-armed son comes up and says, "Mum, I want to become a concert pianist." So, after a couple of months of me being self-taught and a couple of years of professional lessons, I decided to audition for a specialist music school. So one day after school, very excitedly, I come home and thought I'd call the headmistress of this school to arrange an audition. And little did I know that what was about to happen during this phone call would change the career of my life and career. I was greeted by a very stern-sounding headmistress who promptly explained to me that she had no time to see me as she couldn't quite understand how I could play the piano. She then went on to say, "How are you going to play scales?" I didn't want to play scales, I wanted to play music, I said. She hung up the phone. So as you can probably imagine, I was quite distraught by this. As a 15-year-old boy, this, in my head, was my one chance of following my dream of becoming a concert pianist. I was feeling deflated for a few days, and I was trawling the internet and stumbled across another music school. But this time, it was in London. It was the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. So I decided to take a chance, apply, didn't tell them about my disability, and I turned up for the audition, and I had to explain to the panel about my lack of a hand. And that was a bit of an awkward one. And I played, and to my surprise, I was offered a place. My time at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama was quite testing for me, actually. It wasn't all plain sailing. Not only was I competing with children who'd been playing since the age of 3, but I was also introduced to a whole new repertoire called left-hand alone repertoire. Well, to me, it sounded quite boring. I mean, who would want to sit through an hour and a half of... I'd rather watch paint dry than watch that in a concert. So, ordinarily, in two-handed piano music, the right hand plays the melody and the more virtuosic stuff, while the left hand plays the accompaniment. So I wasn't really enthused by this, me being pushed into playing this. Before, I was playing pieces by Mozart, Beethoven, and Mendelssohn, composers that I had grown to know and love through the hours of practice that I'd given to get to the stage I was at. I was then introduced to a piece that little did I know I would end up playing in most of the major concert halls of the world, Scriabin's Nocturne for the left hand. I was surprised by, how two-handed it sounded. I mean, it's got a very beautiful melody line. Very simple, but very beautiful. Lovely romantic arpeggios. But put together, I was surprised by how beautiful it was. It was with this piece that I was going to face my next challenge with. I always like to challenge, as you can probably tell, and I had my sights set on a very rare place in one of the best music schools in the world, the Royal College of Music. I loved everything about the thought of doing my degree here. Its location right here in South Kensington, placed right opposite one of the most iconic music venues of the world, the one we're sat in today, the Royal Albert Hall. What better place to practice for 6 hours a day whilst looking across at a hall where every single classical musician wants to play in? My time at the Royal College really saw me specialise in left-hand alone repertoire. I delved into researching as much as I could and found a wealth of repertoire available to me. It all kind of stemmed from the 19th century. Composers would write pieces to show off to the audience, and they'd show off by writing a piece for one hand. Not only one hand, but their weaker left hand. This then was built upon when Paul Wittgenstein, a concert pianist, lost his right arm in the First World War. In order for him to continue his career, he paid the big composers of the day to write pieces for him. So Benjamin Britten, Ravel, Prokofiev, all contributed to this. If it wasn't for Paul Wittgenstein, I wouldn't have a career today. Last year, for me, was one of the best years of my life. I graduated from the Royal College of Music, and on my graduation day, my teacher called me and said, "Nick, do you know you've now made history in being the only one-handed pianist in 130 years to graduate?" Well, I didn't think that at all. I don't wander the corridors of the Royal College chanting, "I'm making history." But, of course, it did make my graduation day that bit special. 2 weeks after that, I was then performing at the 2012 Paralympic closing ceremony with the Para Orchestra alongside Coldplay. It's not every day a classical pianist gets to play to 86,000 people in a huge stadium. Makes this feel quite cosy, actually. It's like my front room. So I'm going to leave you today with my motto, which I've kind of abided by all my life. Anything is possible. And if you're determined and focused, you will achieve your goals. And see, Mum and Dad, I told you I'd get to the Royal Albert Hall one day. Thank you.